Right now, on To the Point.
This is part of his legacy, and this could be part of my legacy.
A son honoring his late father, one coffee at a time.
It can be a big confidence boost for them.
Volunteers teaching kids with special needs how to ride bikes.
The shelter has saved thousands and thousands of lives.
A local animal shelter giving vulnerable pets a second chance at life.
It's around the clock, all day long.
The rescue center helping orphan wild animals one bottle at a time. And a retired teacher back in a different kind of classroom.
I've just learned that there are no excuses in life for not trying.
We're bringing you our champions of hope. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Alex Bell, and each week on To the Point on ABC 10, we feature people in our community spreading a little bit of kindness and making a big difference. And we start this special in the city of Davis. For many of us, coffee is just part of a daily routine. But for one teen, he's using coffee to turn loss into purpose, honoring his late father, one cup at a time.
Still very green right now. All right, this first batch is getting close.
In this backyard in Davis, there's a coffee roaster that's been around for decades.
My dad had always been roasting coffee pretty much since the first times I can remember.
It belonged to Harvey's father, John.
He learned on the same machine that's behind me now. He was taught to roast coffee and then just passed it on.
That knowledge and that machine passed down to Harvey.
And I just remember one night he kind of asked, hey, would you like to watch me roast a batch of coffee?
From that moment on, coffee became part of their daily life, something made by hand and shared together, becoming a tradition. And in those everyday moments, an idea started.
We were both drinking coffee in the kitchen. He's just like, you should start a coffee business. I'll help you out.
Harvey's dad had done it before, owning a shop in the 90s called Lafayette Coffee Roasters. Today, Harvey still has those labels, and at 14 years old, he created his own. But on Harvey's 15th birthday, everything changed.
I received a call from my mom that, my dad was unconscious.
His father had had a history of heart disease. He died of a heart attack on Harvey's birthday.
I just remember it all just happened so quickly. I just remember my legs were numb, you don't really feel anything.
In the moments after getting the call, Harvey found himself outside looking at something familiar.
I went outside for a second and looked at the coffee roaster, and coffee was our one bonding thing.
Just weeks later, that bond became something more.
And then I was requested to roast coffee for his funeral. And I kind of realized this is something I want to continue. This is part of his legacy, and this could be part of my legacy.
And that's exactly what he did. Picking the tradition back up with the help from his best friend, Dash, coming back into his life at the right time.
We were able just to work together and just really focus our goals and just build something out of that pain.
The two grew up together, but this chapter brought them even closer.
It's an amazing feeling finding someone who has the same drive and passion as you, because honestly, I think of Dash kind of as my brother.
Harvey is the most determined person I know. He's always working, he's very motivated, and just being around him, it makes me want to work harder.
Now, every Friday they roast, and every Saturday they deliver.
We got some coffee for you, Jill.
And those deliveries,
honestly, his coffee is just dang good.
Are building a loyal customer base.
I've abandoned all my other coffee. It's so good. It actually makes you look forward to getting up in the morning and having that coffee, for sure.
Our customers have always loved our Ethiopian coffee. It's just been a favorite since the very, very start.
The money they earn is helping them save for college and support organizations like Shoes That Grow and the American Heart Association, which is dedicated to fighting heart disease.
It feels like my way of kind of giving back and honoring him.
For many, coffee is just part of a morning routine. But in this Davis backyard, it's proof that some traditions are meant to last. And to learn more about Harvey's Coffee, we have a link on abc10.com/champions of hope. All right, now to our next champion. After a blood cell stem transplant saved his daughter's life, an El Dorado Hills father is finding a new calling. Scott McGregor volunteers to hand deliver life-saving blood stem cells and is an advocate for the National Registry. It comes after a stranger's donation gave his daughter a second chance at life 13 years ago after she was diagnosed with a rare blood disorder. He has taken his work to Capitol Hill, pushing to expand the national transplant program. Between 2020 and 2024, more than 8,600 Californians searched for a life-saving match. McGregor sharing this update on his daughter.
She's doing incredibly well today, and we owe it to the NMDP, the registry that helped find that donor that saved her life, and this young man right here, who is her donor, who just happened to sign up out of all places, a Cincinnati Reds game. He swabbed his cheek. A year and a half later, after he joined the registry, he gets a call saying, "Hey, we think you match a little girl." And that little girl happened to be my little girl. He donated some cells that came on a plane to California. And fast forward, we are 12 years since her transplant. She's now 20 years old and is completely cured of that disease.
Amazing. And about 90% of blood stem cell donations, the process looks a lot like giving plasma or platelets. Anyone between the ages of 18 and 35 can join the National Marrow Donor Program Registry in hopes of saving a patient's life. That website is on your screen below. But let's head out to Modesto, where a run with the police department took a dramatic turn earlier this year. Fifth grader Leilani was getting ready to run a 10K with a cop when her mother suddenly collapsed in a crosswalk, suffering what doctors later said was a small stroke. Leilani stayed calm, called for help, and in the days that followed, Leilani's school, Sinclair Elementary, first responders, and the community completely surprised her with a ceremony honoring her actions. Her mom is now recovering and says it could have been much worse, but we just want to give a huge shout out to Leilani for being there to help her mom in definitely a time of need. Now let's take you inside Shriners Children's Hospital, where healing doesn't just happen in an exam room. It happens in a classroom where students recovering from serious injuries and illnesses are still learning, growing, and just being kids. For one volunteer teacher, it is a place where decades of experience have turned into something much more personal.
Ron Kramer didn't expect to come back to the classroom after 40 years of teaching. But after retiring at 62,
I'd finished up 40 years teaching, and I wasn't ready to quit teaching yet.
he's now spent nearly 2 decades volunteering at Shriners Children's Hospital. Ron says the biggest lesson didn't come from a textbook.
I've just learned that there are no excuses in life for not trying. And here's our examples.
For Ron, learning is hands-on.
And so whether it's building a dinosaur, and they ask questions like, what color was the dinosaur's tongue? Well, you know, we can look it up and find out that many reptiles had a light blue tongue.
Barbara says Ron's impact is unmistakable.
He instills excitement about learning. And I know some of our students who have been here for a while, they'll ask, what are we going to learn today? What is Ron coming back? He makes it fun for the kids to return to school.
But Ron says his students gave him something just as powerful.
The thing I learned is how resilient children are, but they're also a model to me in terms of you rarely hear a child complain here.
Ron, thank you so much for letting us inside your classroom. We had an absolute blast. And of course, little Damien that you saw there absolutely stole our hearts and the show. So thank you so much to Shriners. All right, coming up in our Champions of Hope, building confidence and independence, how a week-long bike camp in Sacramento is changing lives, and meet the team behind the Bradshaw Animal Shelter, who have now given thousands of vulnerable pets a second chance at life. Welcome back into Champions of Hope. Each week on To The Point on ABC 10, we feature people right here in our community, spreading kindness and making a big difference. The next Champion of Hope takes us to Sacramento's I Can Shine bike camp, where dedicated volunteers and supportive families are helping riders discover confidence, independence, and the thrill of just riding a bike.
You want to be nicely balanced? 2, 1, go, go, go.
9-year-old Joey has a drive
Well,
that's impossible to miss.
I'm going to try my best.
And after years of trying to learn to ride a bike,
How you feeling? Good. One more time along.
this week he's finally finding his balance.
I see many videos of how to ride a bike, but the problem was I couldn't know how to do the balance.
Yep, that was really good.
Joey has autism and ADHD. His mom says learning to ride wasn't just about getting on 2 wheels, it's about building
his confidence as well. Being able to see that big smile after he rode independently for the first time, it was really awesome.
Push. There you go.
Helping make that happen are dozens of volunteers, including first grade teacher Matthew Rowe.
I wanted to volunteer and do something for the community.
For 5 days, volunteers run alongside riders, offering encouragement through every wobble, every turn, and every victory.
If my rider at the end doesn't know how to ride the bike, if we had a great time this week and I made them have fun, then that to me is good enough. And that's really just what I want to do, is I just want to spread compassion.
The camp is hosted by the Down Syndrome Information Alliance, an organization that connects families with resources and opportunities like the I Can Shine Bike Camp.
It can be a big confidence boost for them. It could be the keys to independence for them. It can be riding around the park with their friends.
And if you ask Joey,
Right there. Perfect.
there's no question how he feels about everyone who's helped him get here.
Well, I have to say they're my favorite team in like the world.
Or about his favorite part of bike camp.
I have to say this entire day. Say the most ever laps I did was over a gazillion.
Needless to say, little sweet Joey definitely kept us entertained. And I also want to mention that the Down Syndrome Information Alliance runs this camp. We do have more information about the program over at abc10.com/champions of hope. Coming up, how the Bradshaw Animal Shelter is connecting vulnerable pets with new families. Plus, we take you inside a wildlife rescue center helping orphan animals one bottle at a time. Welcome back into Champions of Hope. Each week on To The Point on ABC 10, we feature people in our community spreading kindness and making a difference. At Bradshaw Animal Shelter, one woman is making a life-saving difference for animals across Sacramento County. Through her work, she is helping connect vulnerable pets with second chances and giving them a path out of the shelter and into loving homes.
She da good girls! She da good girls!
For Sarah Warren, helping animals isn't just a job.
Like a girl.
It's something that's always been a part of her life.
I started actually working at a doggy training facility probably about 14 years ago. I just loved being around the animals and caring for them. And now for the last 3 years, I've been the rescue coordinator.
Hi, kitties.
For the past decade at Bradshaw Animal Shelter, Sarah has taken on many roles. Today, she leads one of the most critical efforts, the rescue team.
Hi, kitty, kitty.
What our job is to basically find placement for animals. Either they have medical needs or behavior needs. So it's our job to find nonprofit charity animal rescue groups.
It's work that requires constant coordination, connecting with rescue partners, volunteers, and the community, all to give animals another chance.
They're instrumental in helping give these animals the chance they need to get out of the stressful shelter, to get a lot of the care they need.
For many animals, time inside the shelter can take a toll.
They come in and constant stress, noise, a lot of different things can affect dogs differently, and cats too. Sometimes they just decline or the shelter becomes overwhelming for them.
That's where another critical effort comes in, the shelter's Final Plea program.
It focuses on dogs that, just really need the medical care or they're just really struggling here. It's not fair to the animal to continue sitting here.
The program gives at-risk animals a final chance to be adopted or rescued. Sarah says the results speak for themselves.
And I think we've got like a 95 or 96 that leave the shelter, whether it's through adoption or rescue transfer.
Behind the scenes, colleagues say Sarah's work is nothing short of life-changing, not just for the animals, but the community.
Learning about the work that she does, it's evaluated and it's really thought out. The shelter has saved thousands and thousands of lives because of the work her and Taryn do.
You sit. Sit. Yes.
And while much of Sarah's work happens out of the spotlight, it's deeply felt by those around her.
The animals, thank you. And the work that you're doing is appreciated and admired. I just want you to know that it never goes unseen. And the fact that you've been able to save thousands and thousands and thousands of animals is something you should be so proud of.
For Sarah, the most rewarding part is simple: watching an animal walk out to a better life.
Sending the dog out the front door. I've done what I can for that animal, and it's what keeps me clocking in, is watching them go out the front door.
And if you are looking to support the shelter's work or even adopt, Bradshaw Animal Shelter hosts so many events throughout the year. We have more information on abc10.com/champions of hope. Now, over at Wildlife Care Association in Sacramento, volunteers are also helping animals get a second chance at life. It's one of the state's busiest wildlife rescue centers, and staff say that the director there is really the driving force behind their mission. In this Champion of Hope, we highlight her leadership and also all the volunteers who work around the clock to rehabilitate and release California's wildlife back home.
Inside Wildlife Care Association, every day there are new patients arriving.
Our mission is to rescue, rehabilitate, and release wildlife.
On the day we visited, staff showed us stacks of boxes filled with injured and orphaned animals, dropped off just that morning alone.
We don't name them. These are wild animals and they belong to the state of California. And so we refer them to their patient numbers.
And leading that response is Sandra.
Ever since I was little, I've always had quite a variety of pets. I've always loved animals from a very young age.
That passion turned into years of hands-on experience through zoos, internships, and wildlife rescue work. Today, she oversees operations, medical care, and the constant flow of animals coming through the doors.
I still wash dishes to this day. I still clean animals' pens to this day.
Some days they get as many as 80 new patients. Many are baby animals brought in during the spring season, like squirrels falling from nests.
This guy's about 6 weeks.
Hatchling birds needing round-the-clock feeding.
These are hatchling California scrub jays. They get fed every 30 minutes.
And skunks separated from their mothers too soon. Sandra says its mission is simple, but the scale is anything but.
We receive the most patients, and so we do have the highest volume of animals coming in and out of this facility.
And as resources tighten, the need continues to grow. It's a constant cycle of intake, treatment, and recovery. And while the need is growing, so is the cost of care.
I know that one of the bags of food to make this food, just one small bag, is $55 a bag. And like one tub of formula for our mammals is like $265 for a 20-pound tub.
Donation staff say directly fund the food, medical supplies, and hands-on care that keeps these animals alive.
Seeing her handle animals that come through the door.
It's round the clock, all day long, to make sure these guys are being fed on time.
That are in trauma, that are injured. There's a lot of emotion that comes with that, right? The individual that in the community that cared enough to bring it in, and the way she has honored them and that door in that moment to thank them for coming and bringing this animal to us. And then there's this crisis situation that doesn't feel like a crisis.
Much of that work is supported by volunteers like Rachel, who says Sandra's leadership sets the tone for everything inside the center.
I would thank her for having an opportunity, for running a place that allows people to have a place to go.
They're great eaters, so if one doesn't want to eat, then we know something is seriously wrong. Be reestablished back into our ecosystems is incredibly important if we want to continue living with healthy ecosystems. All of their habitat loss is due to humans, and the more we push them out, the more animals come our way.
Now, Sandra says that if you do see a wild animal, do not rush in, pause, observe, and then call a wildlife center like theirs before you do anything. All right, coming up, recent graduates visiting their teachers to deliver a simple but meaningful reminder of how important their work is. Welcome back into Champions of Hope. Each week on To The Point at ABC 10, we feature people in our community spreading a little bit of kindness and making a big difference. Now, this past spring, graduating seniors were looking ahead to the future, but at Antelope High School, some students actually took some time to look back, returning to the teachers who helped shape who they are today.
You made school feel safe, fun, and memorable, even on the days when I probably tested your patience more than you could handle. And of course,
now, this is a tradition where graduating seniors from Antelope High School visit the teachers who made a lasting impact on their lives. A simple but meaningful reminder of how teachers help shape confidence, character, and the future. We sat down with Jeff Thomas, a teacher at Antelope Meadows Elementary School, after one of his former students, Miley, returned to read him a letter.
It's really moving to have students come back. You know, I've been teaching for 10 years. I remember back in my first year of teaching that I was with these kids every day for 10 months and sometimes more than their parents even. and then you send them off to middle school, and most of them you'll never see again in your life. So to feel 7 years later, as they're seniors in high school, getting ready to move on to the next phase of their life, to have them think back fondly of you and your class, it's very moving and very touching.
Jeff says moments like these are reminders that teaching goes far beyond academics, and that sometimes the biggest impact teachers make is one that they may not really realize until years later. As always, thank you so much for watching, for always inviting us into your home. If there's something you think the team and I should be looking into, you can always reach out to us at to-the-point-ott-kxtv.com. And don't forget that To The Point does not end here. If you do want to watch stories that are featured on our show, you can always download our free ABC 10 TV streaming app. I'll see you next time.